Give you a new commandment, that you love one another. In the name of the living God, amen. Let's be seated. In 1975, Nikki Giovanni, who had been raised on Richard Wright and Langston Hughes, and by the time she was 30 had been dubbed the poet of the Black Revolution, wrote a prose poem called Love is a Human Condition. I want to share a part of it with you. An amoeba is lucky it's so small, else its narcissism would lead to war, since self-love seems so frequently to lead to self-righteousness. I suppose a case could be made that there are more amoebas than people, that they comprise the physical majority and therefore the moral right, but luckily amoebas rarely make television appeals to higher gods and basic instincts. So one must ask if the ability to reproduce oneself efficiently has anything to do with love. The night loves the stars as they play about the darkness. The day loves the light caressing the sun. We love those that do, because we live in a world requiring light and darkness, partnership and solitude, sameness and difference, the familiar and the unknown. We love because it's the only true adventure. I'm glad I'm not an amoeba. There must be more to all our lives than ourselves and our ability to do more of the same. Love one another. Love one another as I have loved you. That's what Jesus said. And we've spent the past 2,000 years trying to figure that one out. And amidst moments of deep brilliance and beauty in our humanity, what an absolute mess we've made of it most of the time. We have imprisoned love inside fear. We have confused and conflated love with being nice and avoiding conflict. We have turned love into burden and obligation, something we have to do to get into heaven or to be a good Christian, whatever that is. We have even managed to weaponize the language of love against each other in the name of Jesus defining who gets to love whom and who is worthy of love, and even hating and killing, all in the name of love. As I once heard someone say, who was apparently a little light on the story of the resurrection, Jesus Christ must be spinning in his grave. Jesus tried to make it so simple. Love one another. Love one another as I have loved you. Jesus tried to make it so simple. And of course, we know it's not. We know that love is anything but simple. We know love is beautiful and wonderful and terrifying and complicated. We know love is an invitation to the height of joy and the depth of pain. So why do we do it? Why do we love? Because love is a human condition. Because somewhere deep inside we know that we are not amoebas. Somewhere deep inside, we know that there must be more to all of our lives than ourselves and our ability just to do more of the same. We love because it is the only true adventure. Love is the great human adventure of liberation. of moving, as Henry Nouwen wrote and Ed Bacon proclaimed, out of the prison of the house of fear and into the freedom of the house of love. Love, James Baldwin wrote, takes off the masks we fear we cannot live without and know we cannot live within. Love, not in the infantile American sense of being made happy, but in the tough and universal sense of quest and daring and growth. Love is our redemption song, our sure and certain hope that as we live in that house of fear, it doesn't have to be that way. We don't have to be that way. And so we love, and then we fear, and then we love again, and then we fear, and progress is measured by the nanosecond longer we stay in that house of love before we flee back to that house of fear. Jesus says to his friends, love one another. We hear those words, and together, always, always together, we try once more. We love because love is a human condition. Love is what brings us fully alive. We love because it is the only true adventure. Jesus says to his friends, love one another. And since 1882, when 11 people gathered in a living room right here in Pasadena, we have been coming together as All Saints Church, always coming together to embark on that adventure anew. The only true adventure that is love has taken this congregation down a winding path. It has been glorious, and sometimes it's even been dangerous. And the one thing it has never been, and I pray it will never will be, is dull. And every generation has done what we're beginning to do now, what we are taking our next step in doing today, and that is looking back and looking around and looking forward and asking, what does love, that great, only true adventure, look, sound, feel, taste, and smell like as a new road rises up to meet us? For the past several months, your vestry and staff have been wrestling with articulating a set of core values that express the heart of what love lived out loud looks like at All Saints Church. A set of values that are, as Brian Robinson quipped, that special sauce that makes All Saints who we are. A set of values that will guide us in discerning the course for this great adventure in the months and years ahead. Providentially this week, Sally Howard and I were able to sit down with Richard Rohr and the staff at the Center for Action and Contemplation, and we found that they're going through a lot of the same process. It's always wonderful to meet partners in the adventure. And how they phrase finding their special sauce is asking this question: what does our transformation look like? I like that. I think we might borrow that one. What does our transformation look like? As we have asked that question here at All Saints Church, 4 values have emerged that have resonated deeply with us as what it has meant and means for All Saints Church to be on this only true adventure of love. 4 values that are, we think, that special sauce that makes All Saints who we are as this adventure continues together. Now, you've heard me say them repeatedly over the past few weeks, and together we are opening them up for all of us to reminisce with and dream with, to pray and to play with. What does love look, taste, sound, smell, and feel like at All Saints Church? Well, we put it on the front of our service leaflet. Radical inclusion, courageous justice, joyful spirituality, and ethical stewardship. Now, if you flip over and look at the back of your service leaflet where it says our core values, you'll see these printed with some working definitions. Now, these definitions are not meant to be chiseled in stone. They're supposed to be a launching pad for storytelling and conversation. You see, these 4 values are the first fruits of one of our 4 foundational goals to claim our values, mission, and vision. Okay, so I know 4 goals, 4 values. It can be confusing. We're sorry about that. Try to think of it this way. We have 4 goals, and actually if you flip that over, you'll see our 4 foundational goals with a little update on what's going on. So we have these 4 goals to shore up the foundation of our work at All Saints Church, so we're going to be ready to move together into our next stage of the only true adventure that is love. Now, one of these 4 foundational goals, the first one, vision, the goal of claiming our values, mission, and vision, has generated these 4 values. And these 4 values, well, they're kind of going to be our GPS as that adventure continues. These 4 values are going to guide our work and determine our mission and vision for the years ahead. The 4 goals, well, we're going to accomplish those. Those are going to happen over the next couple years. The 4 values that we're going to start road testing today, as we affirm and claim them, these are our articulation of what has guided us in the past and our commitment of what's going to lead us into the future. Now, your vestry has done some great work, and so many thanks to Tony Jackson and Marianne Ahart and the whole task force on values, mission, and vision that has done so much of the heavy lifting of distilling a huge number of expressions of what makes All Saints, down to these 4 values. Your vestry has done its work, and now all of us get to join in. For the next 3 weeks after each service, there are going to be tables with members of the vestry and the staff, and they'll usually be on the lawn, but after this service, they're going to be over in Sweetland Hall. And at these tables, we're going to go and have conversations about each of these values. Ones we had after 7:30 and 9 were fantastic, so I hope you'll stick around and head over to Sweetland Hall after the service. And we're going to be asking questions like, how do these sound to you? Do they resonate with you? What do you think they mean? Tell us a story where All Saints has lived them out. Tell us a story of where we've fallen short. As the road rises to meet us, where are these values calling us to life's great adventure of love today, tomorrow, and in the years to come? The conversation and the storytelling, the praying and the playing, that's going to continue in different ways through the summer and into the fall. And I have no desire to short-circuit that process by saying, well, here's what I think about all of these things. And I also can't resist saying 3 things about these values. The first is that these values, radical inclusion, courageous justice, joyful spirituality, and ethical stewardship, these values are not some external things to be imposed on us as a burden, or something to be carried out, or an obligation to be fulfilled, or just one more list of shoulds. These values come from us. They come from you. They are not just from us, they're for us. Radical inclusion, courageous justice, joyful spirituality, ethical stewardship. This is not just what we get to be for the world, and it's not even just what we get to be for each other. This is what we get to find for ourselves. Radical inclusion means that this is a community of faith where you're not just tolerated with a passive sense of welcome, but you are embraced to express yourself fully and lovingly as who you are, and expect that your presence will be treated as a gift given by God to change who all of us are, just as you are being transformed yourself. Courageous justice means this is a community of faith where you're going to be loved so much that we will risk ourselves for you, and we're never going to let you stand alone. Joyful spirituality means this is a community where you're going to feel so beloved in a way that moves you to sing and dance and laugh till the tears are rolling down your face. Ethical stewardship means this is a community where you can be sure that everything you offer will be treated with respect and the greatest care to fuel the movement of this only true adventure of love. And yes, even as I say these things, I know we can all think of times where this hasn't happened, where the opposite has happened, and even right now is. That's because these values always have been and always will continue to be both journey and destination. Of course, these are aspirational. We do not pretend now or ever to live them anywhere close to perfectly. And articulating these values, letting them emerge from our souls and be implanted in our minds and our hearts, letting these values be the definition of our transformation, gives us a structure for lovingly dreaming and holding ourselves to account to the best of what this adventure can be in our lives. So that when we are faced with a decision, maybe it's a decision in liturgy or budgeting or care for one another about some issue that's happening beyond our doors. When we're faced with that, these values give us a structure for transcending personal preference and proximate gain or loss, and we will transform the power of fear and instead look deep into each other's eyes and deep into our hearts and say, what does it mean? Right here, right now, in this specific instance, for us to be radically inclusive and courageously just and joyfully spiritual, to be ethical stewards. What does it mean right here, right now, not to shrink back in fear, but to just dive head first into the one true adventure of love? Which brings me to my final word. Jesus was not a centrist, and the love commandment is not about just being nice. The only true adventure that is love is not for the faint of heart. The love commandment of Christ is about being bold. Love, as James Baldwin meant it, in the tough and universal sense of quest and daring and growth. And so as we dive into these values and tell our stories and dream our new dreams, these values, they're also going to be looking deep in us and lovingly urging us truly to engage in this adventure of love. Because to be boldly and radically inclusive means asking ourselves, who am I? Who are we willing to make room for? Knowing that making room, that's going to change me and change who we are together. To be boldly and courageously just means asking ourselves, what am I? What are we willing to risk? Knowing that power concedes nothing without demand, and justice always comes with the price. To be boldly and joyfully spiritual means asking ourselves, can we soar above the seductive drone of cynicism and snarkiness? Welcome expressions of spirit and worship that might be different or challenging, and take joy in seeing them express the joy of and bring joy to others among us as they work their gift of transformation on our hearts and the hearts of this community. To be bold and ethical stewards means asking ourselves, can we look beyond proximate profit, self-interest, and fear as our basic resting pulse? And can we reach for using all that we are and all that we have to practice what Becca Stevens calls the one sacrament of the church with its 7 prisms: healing. Jesus greets us each new day with the same words: love one another. Love because it is who you are. Love because it is who we are. Love is a human condition. The night loves the stars as they play about the darkness. The day loves the light caressing the sun. We love because we live in a world requiring light and darkness, partnership and solitude, sameness and difference, the familiar and the unknown. We love because it's the only true adventure. As All Saints Church, we love with radical inclusion, courageous justice, joyful spirituality, and ethical stewardship because we are not amoebas. And there is certainly more to all our lives than ourselves and our ability to just do more of the same. Amen.